I really don't think some of y'all understand this. In Nick Saban's career at Alabama, I have never, and let me repeat this, I have never seen him call on his players like this. And maybe, just maybe, and hopefully, it will light a fire inside of them. 16. What does that number represent? The amount of years that Mr. Nick Saban has been in Alabama. And in all of those 16 years, most of them being tremendous outside the first one, I have never, and let me repeat this, I have never seen what has currently happened with Nick Saban and these players. Nick Saban calling out his players the way he just did in the middle of the season, it's never happened before. And let me make this extremely clear, I'm not overhyping this. He didn't just say, oh, we need to play better, they're playing soft. No, it's worse than that. He has officially called them out, and what's concerning to me as an Alabama fan, I've been keeping up with him for a very long time, is the tone in his voice. I've never in my life, ever since Saban has been there, felt like he was concerned or he was scared of what's going to happen next, but I do now. And even if you're not an Alabama fan, you know what I'm talking about. Whenever Alabama loses a heartbreaking game, you feel like, okay, Nick Saban, those players, they're going to lock in, they're pissed off, and they are going to destroy everybody in their way. That's been the story, the remedy, whatever you want to call it, the past 15 years. But this time it seems like it might go a different way. The attitude at Alabama, and I'm going to use that word and harp on it, the attitude is not what it should be. And that should concern every Bama fan out there. I'm going to give you a warning disclaimer right now. I will get amped up in this video and fired up. And it's because I'm passionate about this. I care about my team. We didn't create this gold standard overnight. It took years and years. It took some outstanding players, all this hard work and ethic. And I'm not going to let this team ruin it. It's honestly a flat out shame to the players who have built it up for these current players to play and act the way they are. This ain't Alabama football, and if you want me to be honest, if you want to really think about how bad that one loss is to Tennessee, and I get it, it's a gut-wrenching, it's painful, I'm still sad about it. We're lucky not to have 3 losses. We're not doing no intro. If you like college football content, real quick, consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel. And it also lets me know new people come to the channel. You're enjoying the content. All right, Matt, blah, blah, blah. Shut the crap up. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, that was kind of weak. Let's get into it. That's better. Seriously, though, I haven't said it in a while. Consider subscribing. We're on the road to 300K, and we can't get there without your help. When I tell y'all, I couldn't believe this when I saw it. I don't know if that does it any justice. I was beyond shocked. Will Anderson, we all know him, the best player in the country, should have won the Heisman Trophy last year. He said the team had anxiety before the game against Tennessee. He also stated they lacked intensity, and to go on top of that, Nick Saban backs up those statements. Saban stated, quote unquote, every time we come out before the game, our players are chanting. They weren't chanting. I said, what's up with that? I'm going to show you where he said this. Matt wrote a clip.
I mean, coming out of the locker room, our players always chant. They weren't chanting. I said, why aren't you guys chanting? What's up with that?
I get it 100%. To some of y'all, that may not seem like a big deal. Y'all may think I'm trying to overhype this, but you got to understand this, and I haven't even said this much all throughout the season. Alabama, for the past 15 years, they beat 98% of their opponents before the game even happens. When they step on the field and the other team looks across the field and they see Bama, game over. I like to call that the Bama factor. For the past 15 years, teams have feared Bama, but this year, I don't think they fear them. And even dating back to last year, I didn't think teams feared them. And to be honest, it really starts with the defense. You got to have those dogs out there. You got to have those Reuben Fosters, those Minka Fitzpatricks, those Eddie Jacksons, those straight up dogs, and we don't have that. I don't want to disrespect the defense. We do have guys that go out there and give it their all, but it's the intensity. It's that chanting before the games that we're lacking. That, just like I said, intensity. Let's be real here. I'm asking opposing fans, when you see Alabama, do you really fear them anymore? I'm asking a genuine question. Maybe the offense, yeah, of course you're going to fear the offense, but the defense, no. You don't look at Alabama's linebackers and their secondary defensive backs and fear them. And what did Saban build this program on? Good linebacker play and good secondary play. And we don't have that this year. It's okay, don't get me wrong, they got exposed, but it's still okay. The only great player we have in the secondary is Kool-Aid McKinstry. They don't even throw his way. Once again, let me emphasize this. It's not just this Tennessee game. It only got highlighted in this game because we lost. It's dating back to the Texas game as well. Here's where things get even more interesting though. On Monday, Nick Saban stated, we can't continue to tolerate guys that aren't doing the things they need to do to be successful. Nobody is entitled to a position. Key phrase at the end, and he's never said this before, nobody is entitled to a position. Especially halfway through the season, he's never said that unless I missed it somewhere in the past 10 years. I said this in a recent video and I'm going to say it again. Sometimes a loss isn't always bad. More times than not, and you can make a legit argument and case for this, sometimes losing is better than winning. Whoa, 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 whoa. I know what you're sitting there saying. Yo, Matt, Are you trying to convince me that losing to Tennessee would have been better than winning to Tennessee? And yes, I am. The reason for that is fairly simple. More times than not, when Alabama wins a championship, they have a heartbreaking loss in the regular season. Why does that happen though? Why am I trying to say that a loss can sometimes be better than a win? Because of this reason right here. When you lose a game in the regular season like Alabama did and has, you now have a new mentality. It's all or nothing. Your back is against the wall. Because going into that game against Tennessee, Alabama knew even if they did lose, they control their own destiny. But now if you lose again, it's over. You're not making the playoff. Also, to go on top of that, let's say the roles are reversed. Alabama hits a game-winning field goal, they win, they're 7-0, and everybody's celebrating. Well, here's what happens with that. When you win and you still get exposed but somehow win the game, you don't think you need to work on anything. You're undefeated. However, like we just saw Saturday, when you lose, now everything's getting exploited. You're now looking at it like this. Okay, we got to make some big changes on the defense. Maybe we need to insert some new guys. We need a new game plan and blah, 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 all that good stuff. You're now looking to fix the problem, and everybody can say, oh, well, they would have fixed it even if they would have won the game, and no, they wouldn't have. It's different when you lose. And to go on top of that, why I think a loss for Bama especially is really, really, really good is because it humbles them. Those Alabama football players, you got to remember, they're not 30, 35-year-old men in the NFL. They're 18 and 22-year-old kids. And what happens between the ages of 18 to 22 when you're the best thing ever? You get a little cocky. So although it does sting, I think a lot of good will come out of this, and I can't emphasize that enough. You also got to look at this. A verified source said this about what's going on at Bama. There's something going on with Alabama in terms of chemistry and morale. It's time for Nick Saban to push any button he can find. Without the stellar play of Bryce Young, they would have 3 losses by now. Yep, hard to disagree with that. I mean, can some of y'all Bama fans really try to think about this? What if Bryce Young wasn't playing right now? I know it's cliche and corny to say, and I don't want to play this if, ands, and buts game, but he's the only reason we was in the Tennessee game. He's the only reason we've been winning games we shouldn't have won the past 2 years. Bryce Young, without a doubt in my mind, is the best quarterback that has ever put on that Alabama uniform. So we are lucky and should be grateful to have him playing as good as he's been. I don't think a lot of people understand that. Most of your casual fans are going to say, yo, Matt, why are you freaking out? It's just one loss. No. You have to understand this loss was going to come. Like I said, Alabama's been playing with fire this entire season. Let me put it into a better perspective so some of you can maybe relate to this. When I was a kid growing up, one thing that always fascinated me was fire. I liked starting a fire. I liked building it. I just liked everything about fires. I don't know what it was. And one day my granddad said to me, he said, Matthew, if you keep messing around with that fire, you're going to get burnt. And as a kid, we think we know everything. And I was like, all right, yeah, whatever. I'm not going to get burnt. And I think you know where I'm going with this. I got burnt and it was bad. It wasn't one of those kitchen burns where it hurt for a day. It hurt for weeks. Applying that analogy to Alabama football, they were playing with fire this entire season, and the analogy for fire in this situation is mistakes. Penalties, mental mistakes, whatever you want to point to, they've been playing with it all year long. It finally caught up to them, and it bit them in the butt. They didn't execute against Tennessee, and Tennessee did execute. Congratulations to them once again. I also got to say this, I'm going to harp on it all throughout the season. I hope some of you don't mind. I think the storyline isn't so much that Alabama lost, it's that Tennessee won the game. You got to give credit to the Volunteers. Josh Heupel, mastermind on the offensive side of the ball. Hendon Hooker did Hendon Hooker things. I always expect him to play great. Don't get it twisted. Hendon Hooker is not even close to a Bryce Young level, but he played great. It's time for Alabama and that entire program to do some soul searching. I've never seen Nick Saban call out players and say nobody's entitled to a position halfway through the season. I really don't think some of y'all understand this. In Nick Saban's career at Alabama, I have never, and let me repeat this, I have never seen him call out his players like this. And maybe, just maybe, and hopefully, it will light a fire inside of them. I'll put it this way, if it doesn't light a fire inside of them, the season's over. To all my Bama fans out there, don't be so certain that you're going to run the table. You still got LSU, Ole Miss, and Auburn on the schedule, and Mississippi State. And I know some of you are going to say, well, Matt, Auburn sucks. Well, they sucked last year, and y'all saw what happened. It doesn't matter if Auburn's 0-54. The Iron Bowl will always be close. Or, my bad, let me go back on that statement. More times than not, it's going to be close. You never know what's going to happen in that game. That's all I got for this video. I had to get it out there. I know we've been talking about Bama a lot, but there's so much going on. I am very, and I mean very curious. Let me know your thoughts down below. But I wrote it 1 million.